We are back. We are back. We're back. Discomfort is not dangerous, you guys. The stretch is safe. Listen, what feels unfamiliar isn't always unsafe, you guys. It may be. It may be your next calling. Listen, just because it's uncomfortable, it doesn't mean it's wrong, right? Stretching is a part of your becoming. Okay? Listen, when we've been trained to trust ease, right? To trust ease and fear friction, guess what? Our growth is stunted. All right. Growth really never feels like a spa day, you guys. It stretches you, it tests you, and it dares you to believe that the unfamiliar doesn't mean unsafe. All right. Listen, discomfort is not a warning sign, it's a witness that you're touching or stretching what your capacity, right? Your new capacity. All right. And this lesson is for you if you felt yourself shrinking because you stretched and felt too loud. Okay, listen, you're not in danger. You are just developing. Again, we are wrapping up the Unlock Your Potential session or series for this month, right? On on the first week, we talked about understanding, right? Navigating, and we all the way at K, which is kick starting with bold action, right? It's all about taking action. So we uncovered uh what's been holding us back, right? We noticed the pattern, right? It stopped numbing on week 2. We let go of false narratives on 3. We learned how to do that. We opened ourselves to possibilities through clarity, or claiming your power, right? Which was more like an open mindset. So we did that on last week. And then at the end, right, we're wrapping up with the kickstart with bold action, you guys. Listen, where have you been labeling stretching as stress? All right. And calling growth unsafe. I just want you to know that growth is, again, I think that we have to challenge this idea that between the word ease and easy. I guess that's how it's coming up in my spirit, right? We can do stuff with ease, right? And that doesn't mean that it's easy. All right. And sometimes we see people doing things in ease, right? Just kind of effortlessly doing it. But it doesn't mean that it's easy, or to get to that ease was easy, right? It took practice, it took preparation, right? It took challenging and facing your own truths, your own fears, right? And so a lot of us are not growing, a lot of us are not stretching, a lot of us are not doing stuff because we feel like discomfort is danger. Listen, and I'm here to talk about today that the stretch is safe, you guys. Like, so this lesson really helps you to rewire how we interpret fear, right? We often treat emotional discomfort like it's danger, but what if it's a divine invitation? Listen, when we meet new people, we're looking for this red flag. So, what if the discomfort really wasn't a red flag, but a green light? But most of us were taught to associate what? Peace with safety and discomfort with danger. But when you're expanding, guess what? Discomfort is a sign of growth, not a sign to retreat. So I think that the thing that we have to really be clear on is, what are you praying for? What have you been praying for? And then when life starts to, invite new people, new circumstances, new conditions, right? This is what you've been praying for. Okay. And now there's some discomfort, or people are changing and shifting. And then we forget what we prayed for, what the vision is, or what the goal is. And then we'll see that as a red flag, and everything is not a red flag. Sometimes things are green lights, like, yep, go with that. And especially when you're trying to grow and transform. All right. Grow and evolve. Listen, a part of life is just about evolution, right? It really is about growing, expanding yourself, challenging yourself, right? Again, if we look at nature, right, the flower blooms and blossoms, right, the trees bear leaves, right, animals, right, they shed skin, right. There's nothing stagnant in nature, but in some way we will become stagnant. A lot of us are still stuck in our teenage years. A lot of us are still halted from The pain that we felt from our first love, hurting our feelings. A lot of us are still stuck from a mother womb or a father womb, right? Something that happened to us a long time ago, and we haven't allowed ourselves to evolve. And now in this grown age of adult, right, which I consider about, 29, 29, the frontal lobe starts closing at about 25, 26 years old. If you don't know what the frontal lobe is, it's this part up here. And when that frontal lobe closes, it's when you really start to, in a sense, make decisions for yourself, right? Your influence is kind of people having influence on you is kind of starting to close off, right? That's why you can stay on your parents' insurance, or if you're a parent, your kids can stay on your insurance till you're 25 or 26, your driver's insurance, right? Because this frontal lobe is still open, which means that maybe we're adulting, at 18, 19, 20, but your brain is not fully developed, right? So your brain kind of starts to develop and close about 25, 26. So I say at this grown age of like 27, 28, you really started to shift, right? And really started to not really care, or really started to ask yourself deeper questions, or you really started to kind of change. And at that grown age of adult, I think that it's, we can come to some truths about our life, and we want to change some things, right? So it's like, I'm ready to change. Maybe this ain't what I want. Maybe, and you start to feel it about 27, 28, about 35. You like, you know what, something got to give. You know what I mean? Then when you get 40, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm 40. Something really got to change. But every time you go to move, if you're seeing, things and people as red flags because they're challenging you, because they have a voice, because they may question, you, and because of the fragileness of your emotion, or because you probably have experienced some trauma, you're saying, oh, I just don't feel comfortable with them asking me this or this, that, and you're naming it a red flag. Listen, it may be a green light because you're ready to expand and grow. All right. So am I doing this session? This session is for every person who's about to sabotage your next level because you feel uncomfortable, right? You about to sabotage everything that you wanted in this relationship, in this next at this job promotion, with yourself, with your health, with your weight, right? You're about to sabotage it because you feel uncomfortable, not because you're not qualified for this new level, but because it's unfamiliar, because this new level is unfamiliar. And I want you to know that discomfort isn't a stop sign, you guys. It is a stretch mark. All right, you're stretching, right? And you feel that, right? You're stretching. And again, this is why you need support. And, I'm glad that this word stretch mark comes up, because I don't know if you guys, and I'm speaking to women in general, and men, if you've gained weight or whatever, so you get this stretch mark. And I used to think that the stretch mark was truly your skin stretching, right? So it was kind of like, oh, your skin is stretching. The stretch marks is not your skin stretching, right? What happens when your skin stretches. There's a chemical release, and a chemical release is what you see, is that mark that you see. And I'm saying that to say that a lot of us are stretching, right? And there's a chemical or an emotion being released, right? That we feel, that we see, that we experience, that we judge, right? That we're trying to retreat from. And it's like, no, you're just stretching, right? It's a part of the process, and you'll be all right. You will be all right. Your skin's going to come back. Now, that mark, that emotion, that 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 release, you're going to remember that, right? You're going to remember that. And a lot of times, um if we can go back, right, if we talk about something like trauma, right, a lot of times you may have experienced this emotion that you're feeling now, like this fear or whatever, and it may have been associated to some painful moment, right, some letdown, some type of resistance. But at this grown age of an adult, it's okay, right? It's okay to stretch yourself, right? And it's okay to feel this thing. All right. So again, good afternoon to you. How are you doing? How you doing? Here's my awareness for you. Or here's my why for this. This session is for you again, if for every woman who is about to really sabotage their next level, right? Not because you're not qualified, but because it's just unfamiliar. I want you to know that discomfort isn't a stop sign. It's just a stretch mark. And here's your awareness. Just being aware of fear um, isn't enough. Just being aware of your fear isn't enough. You have to learn how to move through it so it doesn't keep you on pause. All right. So this lesson is really here to teach you how to feel the that discomfort and then step anyway. You know, my apologies. My apologies to anybody who is listening and you were taught that life was easy, that life you wasn't supposed to feel that, you know, if you feel that way, that, everything was supposed to feel good and lovely and all of that, and you have a belief and somebody imprinted you with that belief. Okay? My apologies to you, because what they did was they really didn't prepare you for what life really is. And life is truly about the stretch and it's about the feeling. And every feeling of fear is not a red flag, and every feeling of sadness is not something bad, and every feeling, because emotions are just there to really bring about an awareness. All right. And so I love talking about triggers because, again, just looking at our triggers differently. Like your trigger is not so much an opportunity, especially when we're talking about um health, right? Mental health. In mental illness, it could be a little different, right? But in mental health, your trigger is there to say, hey, either I'm at capacity, I need something's different, like I need your presence, right? Something needs to happen because we have stepped out of our comfort zone. All right. And that is your body and your nervous system like raising its hand saying, hey, I don't know nothing about this. So I need you to get out of autopilot, right? And get into manual. And I need you to work with me. And so many of us are so used to just allowing our autopilot to run. Just because a feeling come up, we just respond to it. Just because a thought come up, we don't question it. We see it as true. We don't even question where that thought comes from, right? And then when we start to change, it's like now I'm starting to question these thoughts. Now I'm starting to question these feelings, and now I'm judging them in some way as bad. And it's like, no, it's not bad. All right. So again, good afternoon. I want to welcome you back to Life Lesson, right? With Dr. Sheila Little. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Sheila Little, licensed master social work and the creator of the Stop and Now method. Life Lessons is a part of Project Life, and Project Life is an initiative where we turn theory into practice, right? And with all the noise that's happening in the world, everything that's happening, all of the Google searches that you could do, the chat GPTs and all of that, how does that apply to you, right? And really removing a lot of these limiting beliefs and limitations and really helping you to bring some compassion back into your life, loving on you, right? With no judgment, so that you can actually experience the life that you desire and deserve. So my question for you on this afternoon is, what's one area of your life right now where discomfort is showing up? All right. And then I want you to drop a word in the chat and tell me how you're feeling right on this afternoon. How are you feeling this afternoon? I'm feeling good. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm fasting, right? So I fast from 11 to 1. My last meal is at 11. So I've been pushing it back, right? So I'm gonna push it back to 10 and then 9. And so kind of excited to be able to eat after this session. I just learned about breaking my fast with some good fats. And so I'm going to do a nice protein shake and some good fats. So I'm pretty excited about that. How are you doing? How are you doing? Let's go into who this session is for. Who is this session for on today? Listen, this is for you if you've been feeling resistant and you've been feeling resistance and interrupting is a sign, and you've been feeling resistance and interrupting it is a sign to stop, right? So you've been interpreting resistance as a sign to stop. All right. You've equated ease with alignment, intention with misdirection. And then if you've avoided growth because it doesn't feel safe. All right. Listen, our quote for today is, discomfort doesn't mean danger. It means that you've reached the edge of who you've been. This whole project is really a container to help you and give and allow you and to serve as a bridge to get you from where you were and where you're at. And I've talked to so many people on this journey, and this project has truly served as a bridge, right? They've been able to do things that they wasn't able to do before. They've been able to activate of their finances, their relationships, their jobs, right? See their situations differently, be challenged in a different way, right? um because it was uncomfortable, right? And then in these lessons actually serve as a roadmap or a blueprint to get them permission to feel that uncomfortable and know that they're safe, all right? And know that they're safe. So this lesson, or this life lesson, is an invitation to stretch. All right. Again, we're talking about kick starting with bold actions, right? Kickstart with bold actions. And a big part of this bold action is feeling the stretch, right? 3:30 today, I'm gonna go work out with my personal trainer. And today is legs, right? And I'm gonna feel that when he have me stretch, when he have me, push, and like he's gonna stretch me. And there's gonna be some things I don't really probably wanna, do. And he's gonna push me to do that. Right. But in that scenario, I understand that the stretch, right? That stretch that I'm feeling is uncomfortable, but I'm willing to feel it because I know that that's making me stronger. But when it comes to our emotions, sometimes we don't see it the same, right? So when we get stretched in our emotions, it's like retreat, right? It's like retreat. And similar to me wanting to retreat with this personal trainer, shout out to Tank, when I want to retreat from him, guess what he'll be like? Mm-mm, you finna do that, right? And similar to you, to kickstart with bold action, you may need a coach, right? When you want to hide and you're transforming, and now you want to stretch yourself, and you're feeling yourself saying, "Nope, I can't do this. This is too much. This is too much," right? You may need a person to hold a space for you and support. Okay, all right. So this lesson is an invitation for you to stretch. You've outgrown the mindset, right? That says comfort is equals correction, right? And today we're going to learn to listen to our fears without letting the fears lead. All right. So your stretch zone isn't a danger zone, you guys. It is your development zone. So let's say that together. My stretch zone is not a danger zone. It is a development zone. All right. Listen, yesterday we talked about earlier today, we talked about truth over time, right? And today we're going to turn that truth into motion, all right? Even when it shakes you, all right? We're going to still put it into motion. The boldest person is not that they are fearless, it's that they've learned to walk with their fear. The people that you see that are courageous and all of that, it's not that they don't feel fear, it's that they've learned to go with the fear, you guys. They've learned to activate and move with the fear. All right. I had a client that I started coaching her in business. All right. And she avoided marketing because it made her feel too exposed. All right. She assumed that it meant that it wasn't for her, right? Marketing just wasn't for her. But what she reframed, when she was able to reframe that discomfort into growth, not danger, she found a new strength, right? And now she sees visibility in her ministry, right? So she's able to talk about it. She's able to market it. She's even able to communicate it with her coaches and her VA person, right? But before, she avoided marketing because even talking about our business because, it made her feel exposed. All right. So here's your heart check in. Where have you labeled, or where have you been labeling stretch as stress and in calling growth unsafe? All right. And again, you may not be quote unquote seeing it as growth, but these are areas where you go into a new job, or your skill set is being stretched, right? You need to learn something and you're like, oh no, I don't need to do this. It's just way too much. We do have like this thing in our mind called a motivational triad where your brain wants to what? Conserve energy, run away from pain, and what? Run towards pleasure, right? This is what the brain wants to do. So it would be natural for, you to want to avoid what? The emotional pain of doing something. But the more you do it, then the more you start to curve that, and knowing that there's a motivational triad, that your brain wants to avoid pain and wants to, right, conserve energy, then we build the habit, right, and the alignment, so that eventually it's like second nature doing this thing. Listen, stretch often masquerades as stress because our nervous system is conditioned to associate unfamiliar with threat. So we need to make the unfamiliar familiar. But not everything that feels risky, because not everything that feels risky, guess what, is dangerous. It may just be new. It's a new person. It's a new way of seeing things, right? It's a new emotion that you're feeling. You're only used to anger and sadness, and now there's some happiness and some contentment and some peace in your life, and that can feel a little shaky. You're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Everything's been going nice, and you really can't even sit in this goodness because you're just waiting for something to happen. Well, let me help you. The other shoe will drop. It's going to drop, right? Because it's life. It's going to drop. But that doesn't justify you not sitting in the joy, you not sitting in the gratitude, you not sitting in the happiness and the contentment, because guess what, life is a cycle. So it's gonna drop and it's gonna lift, and then it's gonna drop again and it's gonna lift, because that's the cycle of life. All right, and a lot of us are not sitting in our gratitude and our joy and all of that because we're just waiting for the shoe to drop. We're waiting for something bad to happen, versus the truth of the matter is, and which we talked about earlier, is that something bad is going to happen. Because for every action, it's a universal law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? That means for everything you do, there's something good that's going to happen from it, and there's something bad that's going to happen to it. Now, here's the goal. What are you going to pay attention to? With the knowledge that something bad is going to happen, are you only paying attention to the bad things that's happening in your life? Right? Or are you paying attention to the match, to the good things, right? Right? And are you really holding up yourself from feeling the gratitude, the love and appreciation for life and growing and expanding because you're waiting for something bad to happen, or you don't want to feel it because you don't want it to be snatched away from you because of something bad? And it's like, well, you're depriving yourself, and you have a skewed perspective of life. When I say skewed, that means that you only are allowing yourself to experience one or two emotions, sad, angry, or mad. And it's not because happiness is not there, joy is not there, peace is not there, fulfillment is not there. It's just that you don't want to feel those things because you're fearful that if I step into feeling joy, fulfillment, happiness, that a bad thing is going to come steal it away. And I'm like, but it is. And that's why you need to go sit in it as long as possible. It's like it's summer now, and I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna absorb as much sun as I can. Why? Because I know fall is coming. I know winter is coming, right? I know that this is not going to be 90-degree weather all the time, but I'm not going to stay in the house and avoid the 90-degree weather because you know what, it's going to be winter time. And in the winter, I'm not going to feel that. So I'm not going to get used to this 90-degree weather because, if I get used to the 90-degree weather and I'm going to have to, it's going to be winter in a minute. Like, no, you go and you enjoy the seasons as they come. You yield and you take harvest for the season that you're in. So if you're in a season of happiness, then take up the happiness with the reality that there will be a season of sadness. There will be a season of, anger. There will be a season of joy, right? Right? But we're not depriving ourselves of these summer months because we know fall is coming or because we know winter is coming. Are you? And if you are, drop yes, I am in the chat. And then tell me why. And if you understand, if that makes sense, and you're one of the people who are not allowing yourself to feel because you're waiting for the shoe to drop, then put that's me in the chat and let's talk about that, because that's a mindset of scarcity and you're not allowing yourself to feel or grow. All right. Okay. Again, sometimes stretching often masquerades as self as stress because our nervous systems are conditioned to associate unfamiliarity with threat. All right. But when everything feels risky, but everything that feels risky, guess what? It's not dangerous. It may just be new. And so this moment invites you to really reframe the physical and emotional discomfort you're experiencing, not as a warning sign, you guys, but as confirmation that you're expanding. So here's 5 truths I need you to know under this hard moment. All right. That growth rarely feels like ease. All right. It often starts with friction. It often starts with friction. Listen, growth requires friction because it disrupts some comfort. What is that comfort? The comfort with your current state, the comfort with your complacency, the comfortability that you're sitting in right now. Growth is coming to disrupt that. All right. So you're shedding familiar patterns, not because you're failing, but because you're evolving. All right. Number two, you cannot feel uncomfortable, or you can feel uncomfortable and still be completely aligned. Alignment is not about feeling good. Alignment is about, even in, it's kind of like finding the eye of the storm. Even when everything is chaotic, I have a sense of peace and knowing that I made the right decision. Even when things are falling apart, there's a sense of, I'm sitting in the right seat. I am right here and I know I should be. And I know that things are, they mad at me. I know that, you know, this disrupts some things, but I'm okay with that. That is alignment. Alignment is not feeling happy and feeling at peace all the time. And, I'm not going to say feeling at peace, because I do think that there's a sense of peace even in the chaos. All right. That is what alignment is. All right. So alignment doesn't always feel good in the moment, but it does feel honest. I bear my truth. I said what I needed to say. Now, whoever feels the way they feel about that, they just have to feel that way. Right. But you've set something in motion with this alignment. All right. So discomfort may be a sign that you're finally choosing truth over performance. All right. Number three, discomfort is feedback, not a forecast for failure. Listen, I want you to know that you can let discomfort speak, right? But don't let it steer. Don't let it take the wheel and steer the road, right? It's just telling you that you're touching new territory, or you're stepping into new territory, but that you're not, but know that you're not about to fail, right? You're just in a new landscape. You haven't seen this road before. You haven't been in this place before. And that is the discomfort that you're feeling. Your nervous system is probably going haywire, but it doesn't mean that you're failing. Okay. Stretching is proof of danger, right? Stretching isn't proof of danger, it's proof of development. Okay. Listen, the stretch is where you build capacity. All right. It's where strength grows. All right. And resistance in the gym builds muscle, right? Resistance in life, guess what it builds? Resilience. And a lot of us aren't truly stretching our resilience because we're not willing to live. We're not willing to feel the resistance and feel through it. We're allowing it to just, you know, kind of like in a sense of pushing weights, and you got the weight on you and you want somebody else to come lift that. But that's not making you stronger. People saving you, people catering to you, people moving how you want them to move, that's not helping you to be resilient. Okay. Um, Number five, the presence of fear doesn't mean the absence of grace. All right. Listen, you can be trembling and still be trusting. All right. You can feel nervous and still be covered. Right. Listen, God meets you in the moment, not in your comfort, though. He meets you in the moment. That entity, that source, it's there to support you in the moment, however you are. So to say, come as you are, right? It doesn't say come only when you're happy, come only when you're joyful. No, come however you are, because God is going to meet you wherever you are, in whatever you are, all right? Not just in your comfort. Okay, a couple of more things. You could feel uncomfortable and still be completely aligned. Discomfort is not feedback. It's discomfort is not, again, feedback. It's a forecast. All right. All right. Listen, discomfort is the price of expansion. It's not a penalty, though. It's just the price that we're paying. It's like the transmutation of energy. All right. You got to give to get. All right. And a part of the giving to get, right, is this discomfort. And if you misinterpret discomfort, you will abort the mission, right? And you abort the mission too soon. And a lot of us aren't where we feel like we should be, because we keep aborting the mission because we have a different viewpoint of how we think it should look. All right. All right, here's the real value in this. Learning to sit in the stretch really expands your nervous system. So when you can sit in it, in that nervous system, you're in your nervous system, in your truth, and in your faith, you experience something totally different. Okay, listen, one of my clients said that once I stopped waiting to feel comfortable, I finally made moves that match my calling. All right, listen, insight supports this by neuroscience, confirms this by saying that discomfort tolerance is a core factor in sustainable behavior changes, right? So Neuroscience confirms that discomfort tolerance, right? Your tolerance for discomfort is a core factor in sustained behavioral changes. Meaning, just because it doesn't feel good, don't mean you don't got to do it. And a lot of us, we it's like we don't want to sit in a discomfort long enough for the trans transaction or the transmutation to happen. What's coming up in my mind as I'm saying this, if you see me thinking, is like that ice bucket challenge, or like sitting in ice for 5 minutes, right? So research has shown that sitting in that water does so many great things for people. All right. But it's the discomfort that makes people not even want to get in it, right? And it's showing like many people do it, and they've benefited from it, but it's the feeling of that, right, that people don't want to feel, so they don't reap the benefits of it. And again, neuroscience confirms that the tolerance, right, that discomfort tolerance, and that's what a person has when they sit in that ice, right? They have a tolerance for this discomfort. It's not that they don't feel the burn, it's not that they don't feel the cold, they feel all of that, but their tolerance for it and their capacity for it is there, which is what which is what is allowing for the behavior change. All right. So you're not in danger in your discomfort. You're in development. So keep stretching. Okay. We know that the O, okay, we talked about the S and the T earlier. So we know that the O is for obstacles. And today I'm going to talk about these old beliefs. All right. So O is for obstacles and old beliefs. All right. When growth is unfamiliar, um our minds reach for safety. All right. Even if the safety is rooted in a version of us that what no longer fits. This this particular section of this life lesson, it really calls out the subtle ways that we let fear, old identities, and internal resistance really block our transformation. All right. So instead of letting these obstacles stall us, right, we can start to reframe them so that they can stretch us, so that we can be stretched. All right. And that stretch is a sacred opportunity for us to evolve. All right. So here's 10 essential things that I want you to know about these obstacles and old beliefs. All right. Fear isn't often a sign of movement. Fear is often a sign of movement, not misalignment. Listen, feeling scared doesn't always mean that you're off track. It often means that you're expanding into unfamiliar territory. You know, I had to really start to get my clients to whisper to themselves, I'm safe. I'm safe. When they start to feel that angst come up, it's just whisper, I'm safe. I'm safe. With the knowing that you're in therapy, you're coaching, you're doing new things, right? You're experiencing, you're challenging new things. And the nervous system, this is new to it. So when it starts to respond back, right, you can whisper back and let your nervous system know that you're safe, similar to what you would do to a child, right? When your child starts to get nervous and scared, right? You know as the adult that that child is just nervous and scared because it hasn't experienced this before, and you have the ability as the adult to experience that. So you will tell the child you're safe, and that's what you're doing to this inner child or your nervous system. Okay. Number two, growth comes dressed up as resistance, or growth can come dressed in resistance. So every meaningful upgrade in your life, guess what? It requires a level of discomfort. Okay. Resistance isn't rejection, you guys. It's refinement, meaning you don't really want to eat that. You don't want to do that. You don't want to say that. You don't want to be. All of that is resistance, right? You don't want to do the thing that you know you should be doing, right? That's the resistance. And that is a part of growth, though, right? And and sometimes because it's like, well, I don't want to drink that. I don't want to eat that. I don't want to have a conversation. I don't want to do that. Then we think that, well, that's not the road, because when I say that I want something, I should want to do everything that's associated with becoming the thing that I want to be. And I'm just like, no. And I apologize for whoever taught you that, because to get to the point of becoming the person that you need to be, you're not going to want to do the things. And it's not the adult grown you, it's the habits of you, the fleshly part of you, the part of you that got you here. right? That in no way can take you there, right? And you gotta, in a sense, die to that, right? You gotta die to those old behaviors, right? And then you have to go into manual drive. And even though I don't want to drink, this shake, or even though I don't want to do this, or even though I don't want to do it, I'm going to do it because I know on the other side is where I want to be. All right. So again, growth, it does dress itself up in resistance. All right. And again, every meaningful upgrade in your life will require a level of discomfort. So get help. Get somebody to hold a space for you. When you want to throw your hands up and say, I'm done, it's over, you need somebody to remind you of your why and why you doing it, and to be like, nope, you're not done. Right? You need that, right? With two or more together. And I truly believe that, right? Like, you need support in this journey of transformation. All right. Number 3, stretching means that you're touching new dimensions. So if you're uncomfortable, it's likely because you're stepping into an area of capacity or calling you haven't accessed before. So again, stretching means that you're touching a new dimension. So it may feel uncomfortable. Number 4, your fear is a flag. Okay. But it's not the finish line. Okay. It is a flag, but it's not the finish line. Fear often shows up at the exact point where you're meant for a breakthrough. And a lot of times we will feel that fear and we will retreat. And it's like, no, right. You right at the door. You right there. Right. Let's push through. All right. So don't let it convince you to stop. Don't let the fear convince you to stop. Let it be a signal that it's time to trust even deeper. It's kind of like, you got to shed skin. Now, might pause and breathe and might have to talk about that and may have to replay it in your mind. And that could be the shedding process. And what's coming up in my spirit is like a snake, right? A snake has to, in some way, get paralyzed, right? In a sense, so this old part of them can just this old skin can kind of shed off so it can expand and grow. So we may get to a part of life where we kind of pause, right? Breathe, have some difficult conversations before we actually expand, right? Because it's triggering that, and that's okay. We just don't want to retreat. All right. Okay, the edge of your comfort zone, because the edge of your comfort zone is the entrance to your capacity. So when you've been labeled, when you've labeled as your, when you've labeled as your limit is actually the threshold to your next level. I wrote that wrong. All right. So basically, a lot of us have labeled our limits, and it's not really your limitation. It's actually just the threshold to your next level. So it's like walking from level 1 to level 2. You've ended level 1 and now you're entering level 2, and you think that you're at your capacity, but you're just actually going to step into a different level. All right. 6, familiarity isn't the same as alignment. Listen, just because something feels comfortable, okay, doesn't mean that it's right for you and the person you're becoming. Listen, growth often feels foreign at first. All right. And again, I think that we want it to feel familiar. We're searching for familiar, right? And we're thinking that familiar is alignment, because I talk to somebody and we say the same words, or there's a vibe. Well, maybe we vibing on the same level of where we at, but that don't mean we're gonna vibe and you're a part of my growth. Maybe it's that person that I meet that's challenging me, that's very uncomfortable for me, right? That's my next level, because they're going to challenge me to think. They're going to challenge me to show up differently. They're going to challenge me to do something different. And that don't mean they're a red flag. That may be just as what I was praying for. But a lot of times we're looking for the comfortness, right? We're looking for the person that allows us to stay the same. All right. So familiarity isn't the same as alignment, you guys. All right. Listen, you have been here before. Okay. Scared but not moving. Listen, you've been here before. Scared but still moving. Look back over your life. I want you to look back over your life. Listen, every breakthrough have fear nearby, right? So you've been in this situation before where you had to move with the fear, do it anyway. Okay. So when that fear was nearby, you moved anyway, right? And that's what made it real for you. That's what gave you the experience. That's why you've been able to overcome and persevere and do all of those things. And you've just come to that road again in your life. All right. Okay. I want you to know that courage isn't loud, but it is consistent. We've talked about this before, right? Being courageous. I know in our minds we think sometimes courageous or courage is like this big grand thing. And I just want you to know it's not. Sometimes the courageous thing to do is the most integrative thing, and it's the most quiet thing, and it's consistent. All right. It's not about these grand declarations. It's about choosing truth again and again and again, right? Because it's the thing you value, it's the thing you believe in, especially when no but one's watching. And that's the integritous part of it, right? Like, um, earlier today, the air conditioner had went out, and had to go and get the payment for the person that came and fixed in between sessions. I had to go get the payment. And, and I was hungry. My stomach is growling and all of that. And I'm like, well, I could just go pick up, me a smoothie or something like that, right? I'm at 12 hours, right? So I'm doing good. This is my conversation, right? I'm at 12 hours. Um, and then I had to think, right? The integritous thing to do, or the courageous, right? Courage isn't loud, it's consistent. The integritous thing to do is to wait till 1 o'clock. So no, you're gonna go back to the office. We're gonna tape, the second life lesson, and then you can go eat, right? And I had to redirect that. Guess what? That my stomach still is hungry. It's been growling while I've been, doing this show. But to me, that's the consistency. And it's not because the urge to eat, right, is not calling me. It's not that. And it's not that it didn't even create an opportunity in my mind or a reason for me to eat, right? But I had to dismiss that. All right. So again, courage isn't loud, it's consistent. It's not about these grand gestures. It's about choosing truth again and again. And the truth is that I really want to embody this intermittent fasting. All right. That's just an example. And I can give a lot of those with my clients and things like that. A couple of more. Resistance is a sacred mirror. It shows you where you're strengthened. All right. So don't just resist. Don't just resist resistance. I want you to study it. All right. Because it reveals the areas that need more clarity, more support, and guess what? More conviction. All right. And last but not least, you're not falling apart. You're stretching into form. I talked about this forming before. Listen, transformation is messy. All right. Um, but it's also holy and it's divine. All right. So the disorientation you feel is not a collapse, it's a collaboration, right? It's kind of like it's a calibration. I'm sorry, it's a calibration, right? It's you calibrating. And what's coming up in my mind is like whenever you do spring cleaning, it gets messy first. And I think that we're scared of the mess. I heard somebody say, what if I actually feel that feeling and actually fall apart? And I'm like, I know that is the biggest fear. That when I allow myself to feel, that when I actually go into this dark space, that I know a whole lot of stuff is in that I've been avoiding. I know that, right? I know that there's a whole lot of emotions I've been avoiding. I know there's a whole lot of mess. I know there's a whole lot of truths that I'm just not ready to accept. So you want me to go open up that closet with all of that stuff that I know that I have stuffed in there years and years and years. Yeah, nah, no, I ain't doing that. And I'm like, yeah, your mind have told you not to do that, right? Because there's like you feel like there's going to be this fear, and the vision that's coming in my mind is like opening up a closet, you stuff all the stuff in, and all the stuff just fall on you. Okay, it's gonna fall on you, right? But then you're gonna pull yourself up out of it, and then we're gonna just start pulling it out. But it falling on you, right, is not going to, in a sense, unalive you. Okay. It might unalive that part of you, right? You may have to die to that part, but it's not going to unalive you as the source of life, right? It's going to help you to unalive that part of you, though, that part that has been hiding. Now we can put that away. We can die to that. All right. To those fears or whatever, so we can move forward and grow. If that makes us put a heart in the chat as we move forward to this biblical wisdom. All right. So in our biblical wisdom is Joshua 1 and 9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Okay. Listen, be strong, Be courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord guides with you wherever you go. The interpretation of this, listen, is courage doesn't mean the absence of fear. What it means is that you've decided to move anyway. And guess what? God's present isn't tied to your feeling. Guess what? It's tied to your purpose. It's tied to your why. It's tied to your intention. All right. So be strong and courageous and do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord God is with you wherever you go. This verse is not just a prep talk, it's like positioning, right? It reminds you that courage is not the absence of discomfort, it's the decision to move forward despite it. And God doesn't say, wait until you feel easy. It said, go, and I'm with you. All right. So, in the context of this session, this verse really interrupts the mindset that says, if I feel afraid, I must be out of alignment. Instead, it reframes this discomfort as a spiritual invitation, saying you don't go alone, you go with God, with that God that lives in you. Okay, so you're not doing this life alone. Be strong and be courageous. Okay, do not be afraid. All right, and do not be discouraged. All right, and to me, the do not be afraid is when we're afraid, that's the state of allowing fear to captivate you. Why didn't you do it? Because I was afraid. That's the inaction. I've allowed fear to be the driver and now I'm afraid, right? Be courageous. Being courageous in that word is saying, hey, you are conquering the unknown. So be strong and courageous. In that, it's saying it's going to be some fear, some discomfort that you're going to face. All right. But be courageous. Do not be afraid. Don't let that overcome you, and do not be discouraged. Don't let it take your courage away, right? For God will be with you wherever you go. All right. Okay. Again, it reminds us that courage is not the absence of discomfort. Okay. God is not, again, this guy cop waiting for perfection. All right. Even though God is in every aspect of the world, inside of us, outside of us, these biblical wisdoms is really to activate this God in you. So it's the spirit within you whispering. All right. So an aspect of God is the spirit in you whispering, you've got this and I got you. All right. So that tightness in your chest, that's not a warning. That's just your nervous system waking up, right, to what's next. All right. And if we can know that that's the nervous system, and the nervous system is doing what it was meant to do, and it's really just saying, hey, you're stepping into new ground, then we can thank it for doing its job to keeping us safe. And then we can then take over as divine beings and say, thank you for getting me here, but I got it. And we can stay present. Okay. Um, our promise verse for today, Isaiah 41:10, do not fear. I will strengthen you and help you. The interpretation of this is when discomfort arises, guess what? Strength is available. You are supported. So even when stretch feels like a risk, all right, you are supported even when stress feels like a risk. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, and I will hold you in my righteous right hand. Right, this verse is the comfort in the stretch. Right, it acknowledges that the reality. It acknowledges the reality of fear, but answers. Mm-mm. It acknowledges the reality of fear, but answers it with presence and strength. All right, God promises here, God's promise here isn't to remove the discomfort, it's to meet you in it. All right. For someone walking through uncomfortability, uncomfortability, this verse affirms that you are supported. Okay. You are not unsafe, and you don't have to manufacture strength. Guess what? It's already in you. So this is for the person who thinks stretching means something is wrong. No, stretching means that you're growing, and that something is growing in you. And this verse says that you don't have to stretch alone, that the God or that divine spirit that's in you, within you, is sustaining your stretch, all right, and sustaining your strength, guiding your alignment, and helping you to carry the weight that you will need for this next level. So together, these verses, right, or these scriptures say discomfort is not a threat, it's a threshold. All right, God's presence isn't your feelings, right, it's your foundation, and you are not being punished, you are being prepared. So they support today's session with this truth, that discomfort is the edge of your beginning or your becoming. It's not dangerous. It actually is divine development. So my question for you at this point in this biblical wisdom is, what discomfort have you been running from that might actually be a sign that that may be a sign of your next level. All right. So let's put this into practice on today. Listen, I want you to name one stretch zone you've been avoiding. And then number two, I want you to reframe that discomfort with what might it be developing in you, or think about it. Think about it as what might be developing in you. And then number three, I want you to take one micro step, again, just micro steps today, while still feeling this discomfort. If you rather do a journal prompt, or you want to do a journal prompt with those action steps, I want you to think, what's one area where I'm confused, where I confuse discomfort with danger. And here's your affirmation for today: I am safe in my stretch. I grow by moving. And then setting the intention for the rest of the day. Listen, I choose to reframe discomfort as development. And if you want a bonus challenge, again, do one uncomfortable thing on purpose and document how it grows you. All right. If this message really pushed you, it really pushed you, if today's message pushed you but pulled you forward, Project Life is where you can stretch for support. Okay. And you can join that project at sheilatittle.com/life. And if this session resonated with you and you are walking away with some insight today, you also had an option to drop a fire in the chat and let me know that you are growing, and let's celebrate our growth together. All right. Before we leave, I'm going to do that call, that challenge, that charge. So I'm calling, I'm asking, what stretch have you been avoiding? I'm going to challenge you with this. What's one thing you'll do today, even while uncomfortable? And then I charge you to don't misread the stretch. I want you to lean into it. Growth is happening. All right. Listen, you don't need ease. You just need endurance. And you already have that. All right. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about what bold looks like right now, as we discuss kickstarting with these bold actions, as we learn how to unlock our potential, or wrap up this series of unlocking our potential. All right. So what bold looks like right now, because bold doesn't have to be big, right? It just has to be obedient. All right. It doesn't have to be big. Uh it just has to be obedient. All right. Listen, remember, I want you to know, if you could shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. And just the last motivational close is, discomfort is not danger, you guys. It's a sign that you're no longer shrinking to fit, and you're stretching to become. I want you to know, I love you. I love you. I love you. And I will see you tomorrow for that life lesson. Till later.